Hello there, good evening and a warm welcome. This is Rupavahini News.
Hello there, I'm Daphne Charles.
And I'm Indra Surya.
President Mahinda Rajapaksa has successfully completed his Middle East official visit, bringing in many benefits to Sri Lanka, relating to various sectors. The President and his delegation made official visits to Jordan, Palestine and Israel. The President and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu held official discussions at the Prime Minister's office in Jerusalem yesterday. The Israeli Premier agreed to provide assistance for popularizing the drip irrigation system in Sri Lanka and to provide technical assistance for the development of the agricultural sector. Attention was also focused on desalination technology. The President thanked the Israeli Prime Minister for the humanitarian assistance provided to Sri Lanka during the tsunami disaster. The discussions also covered the fields of information technology, trade and employment. Israeli Prime Minister Mr. Netanyahu commended Sri Lankans employed in Israel. The President and the First Lady visited several historical religious sites in Israel yesterday. They included several Christian, Islam and Jewish religious places in the ancient town of Jerusalem. The delegation also visited Masjid al-Aqsa, the third holiest place in worship in Islam, and the Wailing Wall. President Mahinda Rajapaksa, starting his Middle East official visit, arrived at the Amman International Airport last Saturday. The Acting Secretary-General of the Jordanian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Mohammed Taisir, and several high-ranking officials warmly welcomed the Sri Lankan delegation. Bilateral discussions between the President and the King of Jordan, Abdullah ibn al-Hussein II, were held last Sunday. The leaders of both countries agreed to have close cooperation on multifaceted issues. Sri Lanka is the main supplier of tea for Jordan. The President requested King Abdullah to give consideration to provide tax concessions to tea imports from Sri Lanka. Both leaders also reviewed the progress of the Economic Cooperation Agreement signed between the two countries in the year 2007. Jordanian King accepted an invitation by the President to visit Sri Lanka. Upon completion of the Jordanian visit, the President and his delegation arrived in Palestine last Monday. The Prime Minister of Palestine, Rami Hamdullah, and high-ranking officials of Palestine warmly welcomed the President and his delegation. The President visited the mausoleum of the former Palestinian President Yasser Arafat and laid a wreath there. The President and his family members met President Yasser Arafat when he visited Sri Lanka in the year 1997. Sri Lanka has long had close relationships with Palestine. Mr. Rajapaksa, upon getting elected to Parliament as a young parliamentarian in 1970, made mention in support of the Palestinian struggle in his maiden speech. President Mahinda Rajapaksa was felicitated with the highest honor of Palestine, the Star of Palestine Award. The award was presented by Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. The Palestinian people have commended the President for the service rendered by him as the President and as a member of the Palestine Cooperation Council for several years, and the keen interest being shown by the President for the benefit of the Palestinian people. At the felicitation ceremony, the President said that he and Sri Lanka are committed to provide maximum assistance for the state of Palestine and its friendly people. President Mahinda Rajapaksa held bilateral discussions with the President of Palestine, Dr. Mahmoud Abbas, at the Presidential Palace in the city of Ramallah. The leaders of both countries signed the agreement for establishing the Sri Lanka-Palestine Joint Commission and the MOU relating to the establishment of the Mahinda Rajapaksa Vocational Training Centre in Palestine. The President also declared open the Mahinda Rajapaksa Vocational Training Centre. The Palestinian Foreign Minister Riyad al-Maliki and group of high-ranking officials warmly welcomed the Sri Lankan delegation. The centre will be maintained with Sri Lankan funds. There will be several training courses at this centre, including tourism. Meanwhile, the president visited the Betunia Botanical Gardens in Palestine and planted an olive sapling. The president and the First Lady visited the Sri Lankan Representative Office in Palestine and also inspected the Honourable Mahinda Rajapaksa Highway in Palestine. The President and the First Lady also participated in a special service of blessing at the Church of the Nativity in Bethlehem. The service of invoking blessings was carried out by the Chief Priest of the Orthodox Council of Jerusalem. The President participated at the service carried out by the church on the previous day of the Orthodox Christmas Eve. The chief of the Greek Orthodox Council of Jerusalem, Reverend Theophilus III, held a special banquet for the President and the First Lady. The President of the Sri Lankan delegation arrived in Israel yesterday. President Mahinda Rajapaksa is the first Sri Lankan state leader who has visited Israel after the establishment of that country. Political analysts point out that it is highly significant of President Mahinda Rajapaksa's and the Sri Lankan foreign policy's capability of having diplomatic relationships simultaneously with two opposing states, such as Palestine and Israel. Minister Professor G.L. Peris monitoring MP Sajjan Divas Gunawardena, parliamentarians Kamala Ranatunga, John Amaratunga, Roshan Ranasinghe and Secretary to the President Lalit Veeratunga also accompanied the President on this visit. Now, a special program titled Iran the Reporter, which discusses President Rajapaksa's Middle East state visits, the benefits accrued from these visits and the significance of Sri Lanka's current foreign policy, will be broadcast at 10:10 tonight on National Rupavahini channel.
In other local stories, foreign direct investments after the third quarter of last year increased by 41% compared to the same period in 2012. This was revealed by the Minister of Investment Promotion, Lakshmana Abewardena, at a media conference held at his office this morning. The value of foreign direct investments received by Sri Lanka up to third quarter last year amounted to $870 million. In the year 2012, the value of foreign direct investments received up to the third quarter was $610 million. The value of exports made by Board of Investment approved manufacturers up to November last year amounted to $5,900 million. It was $5,500 million at the same period by them in the year 2012. The value of exports made by these manufacturers in the month of December is now being calculated. The minister pointed out that the government's tax revenue has also increased because of the Board of Investment projects. Several high-ranking officials of the ministry also attended the media conference.
The Sri Lanka Port Authority has created a historical record by handling more than 1.7 million TEUs last year. The introduction of 9 new shipping services to the Jayabahalu terminal by the port authorities has contributed to this progress. The Port Authority, compared to the year 2012, increased the transshipment container operation by 12.3%. The number of containers handled by the port in the year 2012 amounted to 1,584,000. Last year, this number was increased to 1,779,822. The local export and import container capacity was also increased. The Sri Lanka Port Authority is increasing its physical and human resources capacity in line with global transformation in the naval sector. In this connection, several strategic plans have been drawn up. The Colombo Port Expansion Project is also being carried out successfully. The operational activities of the Eastern Terminal will also be started shortly. $80 million are being spent for this purpose. The Colombo Port now has modern facilities. The 223-hectare Port City project is nearing completion. The Port City project will have modern shopping complexes, hotels, housing complexes, and other facilities.
The Ministry of Education, in the meantime, has requested parents to inform the nearest zone educational directors if there are students who have not gotten admission to the first year up to now. The admission of students in the first year will take place on the 16th of this month. It is the objective of the Ministry of Education to provide a school to all students. About 175,000 students are scheduled to receive admission to the first year. The ministry said that although it is possible to provide schools for all of them, many parents have made applications to only the 35 schools considered as popular schools. The ministry said that only about 4,000 students can be admitted to these schools. Priority will be given to those who have fulfilled all requirements. The National School Director of the Department of Education, Ranjit Chandrasekhar, said that the remaining students could get admission to provincial schools for other schools. Mr. Ranjit Chandrasekhar further stated that the problems of the parents cannot be solved by making visits to the Ministry of Education. He said that they are working according to circulars of the government. He said that principals of schools have been instructed to inform the parents about selected and non-selected students and direct them to the Zonal Director of Education as early as possible.
Lands that were occupied by the 52nd and 513th Divisions of the Sri Lanka Army in the Jaffna district have been returned to their original owners. Relevant divisions were re-established in government-owned lands. Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa made an inspection tour of the areas recently. The camps were removed under the project of returning the lands occupied by the army in the district to their original owners. The camps established in the government lands were declared open under the patronage of the Defence Secretary. Mr. Gotabaya Rajapaksa also inspected the Thal 7 holiday resort. The Defence Secretary also declared open the Palali Hospital building. Governor of the Northern Province G.A. Chandrasiri, Army Commander Lieutenant General Daya Ratnayaka, Commander of the Security Forces in Jaffna, Major General Mahinda Hatrasinghe and several high-ranking security officials accompanied the Defence Secretary on this observation tour.
The Irrigation Department informed that recent rainfall has provided adequate water required for the Yala season. The anxiety which prevailed about the availability of water has hence diminished. The water levels in the 72 reservoirs belonging to the Department of Irrigation fell down to about 42% recently. There was danger of non-availability of water for paddy cultivation in the North Central Province and in the Trincomalee district. But with rainfall received recently, the water levels of Basawakkulama, Tisavava, Nachaduva in Anuradhapura district and Hiruluvava and Kantalevava in the Polonnaruwa district have increased. The Director of Irrigation, Mrs. Janaki Megasthana, said that discussions will be held with farmers' organizations and issue of water under a timetable will be implemented. Due to the dry weather situation, the water level of the Mausekale reservoir has come down from the spill level to 38 feet. The Ceylon Electricity Board said that hydropower generation from this reservoir can be carried out only for another few days. The Electricity Board has requested the Sri Pada pilgrims not to bathe in the Mausekale reservoir.
The operation carried out to transport parts of the deer statue, the Dulus Mahepahana and the bell tower from the Laksupana playgrounds in Nallathanya to the Sri Pada Malua has been completed. The chief incumbent of the Sri Pada, Venerable Bengamwe Damadinathera, said that the Sri Pada pilgrimage will take place as usual from today onwards. The air transport operation took 7 days. The chief pilot of the Mi-17 helicopter of the Air Force, Kalinga Mahipala, said that the air transport operation was successfully completed at 8 a.m. yesterday. He said that in 23 airstrips, 26,000 kilograms of items were transported to the Sri Pada Malua. He said that 7 pilots, 40 Air Force officers, 150 officials from the Army and the KCC institution participated in the operation. He said that originally it was planned to have only 16 air trips, but due to the heavy fog and winds, it had to be extended to 23 air trips. The operation took 10 hours and 25 minutes. The officers who participated in the operation said that they carried out this activity as a religious service rather than fulfilling an official duty. Kandy businessman Thusitha Vijayasena provided full sponsorship for this program. Pilot Kalinga Mahipala said that this is the first time that the Air Force transported goods to the peak of a mountain which was above 7,400 feet from sea level. Pilot Mahipala said that out of the civil operations carried out by the Air Force so far, this is the first time that they flew to a mountain top of this height. He said that it was an important and a very strenuous operation. Pilot Mahipala appreciated the contribution made by everyone to make this operation a success.
The Chief Minister of the Western Province, Prasanna Ranatunga, said that the United People's Freedom Alliance will gain a mammoth victory in the forthcoming Western Provincial Council election. He said that the development projects implemented by the government in the province have gained much commendation from the people. At a media conference held in Colombo today, the Chief Minister explained the future plans of the Provincial Council. Speaking at this media conference, the Chief Minister, Mr. Prasanna Ranatunga, said that the United People's Freedom Alliance will go for the forthcoming election with much strength by gaining the confidence of the people and also with representatives from other parties making every effort to contest under the UPFA. The Chief Minister said that the final decision on the dissolution of the Western and Southern Provincial Councils is to be taken on the 11th of this month. Mr. Ranatunga, speaking further, said that the party leaders and the cabinet have been enlightened on this matter, and he said he has clearly indicated the need to go for an election and accordingly their decision will be announced by Saturday. He said that their opinion is also the same as his opinion. Mr. Ranatunga pointed out the fixing of the election date is not his work, but the date of dissolution will be decided by them. The Chief Minister also stated the United People's Freedom Alliance has decided not to nominate a chief ministerial candidate prematurely. Mr. Prasanna Ranatunga stated that they have decided to contest the election without nominating a chief ministerial candidate, and he said he respects the decision of the party and he will agree with the decision of the party based on the results of the election.
Sri Lanka by 2020 will completely ban the import of equipment that emits gases that could affect the ozone layer. The Ministry of Environment and Sustainable Energy said that by the year 2015, the import of refrigerators and air conditioners that contain chemicals such as hydrochlorofluorocarbon will also be controlled. The import of refrigerators, air conditioners, perfumes and pesticides containing CFC, known as chlorofluorocarbon, has been stopped. The ministry has taken steps to ban the import of equipment that emits gases for the ozone layer by 20% each year until the year 2020. This step has been taken in accordance with the directions of the Montreal Organization, which is represented by 197 countries, including Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka has already stopped the import of 54 chemicals out of the 96 chemicals harmful for the ozone layer. A conference of officials of the Montreal Convention dedicated for safeguarding the ozone layer will be held in Sri Lanka in May this year. Observer status representatives from the United States, Australia, Japan and the European Union will participate in this conference. Minister Susil Premajayantha said that the conference will be held to obtain international advice and assistance for controlling equipment harmful for the ozone layer.
The government in the meantime has decided to maintain certified prices of locally cultivated big onions, potatoes and dried chili from the month of April. This measure will be implemented under the instructions of Minister Basil Rajapaksa. The objective of this measure is to safeguard local big onion, potato and dried chili cultivators, expansion of the cultivation of these products and promotion of their sales. A special task force will also be established in this connection. The import of dried chili is to be halted completely. The Secretary to the Ministry of Agriculture, RMDB Megasmula, said that the import of big onions will be halted during the harvesting times of locally cultivated big onions.
The Ministry of Health warned that there is a threat of dengue epidemic in the health officials' divisions of Dehiwala, Kahuwala, Kaduwala, Kolonava, Angoda, Moratua and Katubadda. The ministry has instructed the officials to investigate whether there are dengue mosquito breeding places in schools, state institutions and other premises in these areas. The ministry advises that if anyone has fever for more than 2 days, they should not take any painkillers except paracetamol tablets. During the last few days, the density of mosquitoes in many areas has increased. The dry weather situation and creation of mosquito breeding areas in new construction sites have contributed to this increase. The number of dengue patients has also increased and the majority of them are students. Several adults are also afflicted with dengue. A review of this situation was made in the Ministry of Health recently. Several high-ranking officials, including the Director General of Health Services, Dr. Palitha Mahipala, attended this meeting.
American Ambassador Mrs. Michelle J. Sazen has commended the steps taken by the government to protect human rights in the North. She has also applauded the steps taken by the government to develop the northern province destroyed by the Tiger terrorists. The American ambassador and the visiting American State Department representative Stephen J. Rapp met the governor of the northern province, G.A. Chandrasiri, yesterday. They held discussions at the governor's office, and the governor apprised the American visitors about the resettlement of people within a short period of demining the northern province and the development projects implemented in the north by the government. The American diplomats commended President Mahinda Rajapaksa and the government for steps that have been taken to develop the northern province.
Just for your reading, you will get a lot of information about our.
A protest against the visit of the American State Department representative Stephen Rapp was held in front of the American Embassy office in Colombo today. It was organized by the Movement of National Organizations. The protesters alleged that under the guise of human rights, the United States is working against Sri Lanka in support of the Tamil diaspora.
The Evergreen Company, together with the Forest and Environment Science Education Unit of the Sri Jayawardhanapura University, has started a special commercial forest cultivation project. The objective is to create new products based on the university's research and testing. The Evergreen Company is an institution dedicated for sustainable commercial forest cultivation while protecting the environment. The commercial tree cultivation could fulfill future timber requirements. Cultivation of teak and white sandalwood, which is considered as highly valued timbers in the world market, will be given prominence under this project. The company has cultivated teak and white sandalwood in more than 10,000 acres with the support of around 20,000 consumers. The company also received the Presidential Golden Award for its environmental friendly forest cultivation. The Chief Executive Director of the company, S.K. Rohana, said that the company has made arrangements to introduce cultivation of Vallapatta trees as a new home garden project. The Chief Executive Director of the Evergreen Company, S.K. Rohana, said that forest cultivation is a new venture in Sri Lanka. The Evergreen Company has been involved in much research on forest cultivation during the last 12 years. He said that the company, through its findings, encourages people to practically engage in forest cultivation and thereby earn a better income.
The 2014 State Drama Festival will begin on the 10th of February 2014. This festival has been organized for the 42nd time jointly by the Department of Cultural Affairs and the State Drama Subcommittee of the Sri Lanka Arts Council. 13 dramas have been shortlisted for the final round of the State Drama Festival. These dramas will be staged at the Tower Hall beginning at 6:30 p.m. each day from the 10th of February. The dramas that have been shortlisted for the final round are Angara Ganga Galabasi, Idamedi Vikine, Ravana, Adara Vastuva, Sellam Nirindu, Vise Karyo, Maradamu Jivatana Minisa, Makarata, Uttaritara Blackout, Hunuvataya, Rangapam Ivarai, and Train Driver. In addition to this, the Tamil guest drama Muham will also be staged. This is the first time that this much of dramas have been selected for the final round of the State Drama Festival.
Today was the second day of the second test between Sri Lanka and Pakistan. The Sri Lankan team, batting the first innings, has scored 318 runs for the loss of 4 wickets. The Pakistani team scored 165 runs in their first innings. At the start of the play today, Sri Lanka was 57 for the loss of 1 wicket. Kaushal Silva and Mahela Jayawardene, playing a very impressive inning today, raised the Sri Lankan score for 139 for the 4th wicket. Kaushal Silva scored 95 runs, which included 10 fours. After his dismissal, Angelo Matthews joined Mahela and further increased the Sri Lankan score. Mahela Jayawardene scored his century with 12 fours by facing 230 deliveries. It was Mahela's 32nd Test century. At close of play today, Mahela Jayawardene was 160 not out and Angelo Matthews was 42 not out.
Class is permanent.
And that's it on the news tonight. Thank you for being with us. Do join us again tomorrow night at the same time.
Good night.
Good night.